Hello there. So this one is called Why I Love 2025. Great pleasure in sharing this with you. And when I was awake before sunrise, I had the vision of coming here to make this film. Very appropriate place to be, back in Ivythorn Woods. I'm surprised there's so many trees with leaves on still. That's surprising for England this time of year, mid-November. So, why I love 2025. I'm going to zero in on this. I received a universal soul retrieval from my most recent graduate, and in a very short time after receiving this USR, which was an absolutely stupendously magnificent piece of work. He did the entire thing on his phone, which is not the easiest thing to do, to produce a really comprehensive, erudite report full of the appropriate images, but that's what he did. And a very short time indeed after receiving this USR and taking the information into the report, which is actually what happens, I woke up feeling really bad, and I realised I felt very weak, exhausted, and I had a really unpleasant little tickly cough. And my intuition kicked in, and two words came to me: healing crisis. So I've received a number of USRs in my life. First one was 3 years after I was given this magnificent healing tool, and that was 2011, when the woman I was in a relationship with said that she wanted to train so she could give me my first USR, which is indeed what she did do. Right, so anyway, coming to really recent times, I was aware I was in some kind of healing crisis, and I lost pretty much all my energy, and within a very short space of time, this little tickly cough had turned into something really pretty monstrously huge, and was blighting my days, but most especially, more than my days, it was blighting my nights. And I received some good advice very early on, which is I needed to stop lying down, it was only making things worse. So I learnt how to sleep kind of sitting up with loads of pillows, which is something that I've never done before, something that I have a great disliking of. And I realised that what I'd allowed to happen, I'd allowed myself to descend into the grip of the spirit of this thing, which I will call, for want of a better word, an illness. And I didn't take any steps with the medics for the first 8 days, but by day 9 I kind of realised, my goodness me, I am in just the most dreadful state, scarcely able to function, cough's driving me nuts, can't sleep properly at night. And when they did listen to my chest, a total of 3 people listened to my chest, and they all said it's absolutely fine, no infection we can detect at all. But then they did a blood test, a whole load of blood tests, and when the results came back, it said very clearly there were markers for high inflammation and an infection, possibly bacteria. And that's the closest I ever got to a diagnosis. Chest completely fine, blood, you're up shit creek. And so I did receive an antibiotic, which was a wonderful way of having my buttons pushed, because I don't choose to take pharmaceutical drugs, generally speaking, but by this point I realised I was in a total mess and my functionality was decreasing and decreasing. So I did indeed do it. It took the entire course, which, if you're going to take them, it's the only way to go. As a microbiologist, I know that. And I felt very seedy as the only word that occurs to me as a result of the effects of the drugs I was taking, and I realised I was in the grip of the spirit of this illness. And the other thing I realised, this is something that pretty much all shamans know, if someone's coughing, especially if it's a persistent cough, this has a very clear divinatory meaning. A cough means there's something you need to get off your chest, and I'm not talking about phlegm, I'm talking about there's something that needs to be said. There's something in your being that you haven't faced up to, that you need to face up to and feel fully and then express. So I was aware of that as well. And so it was a very inward time, all this going on. And in fact, as I'm making this film right now, there are a total of 6 planets and asteroids all retrograde, so there's a very inward time, very, very inward time at the moment. So I wasn't able to do much except lie around, except I couldn't lie down, so I had to sit. So it was really tricky. I wanted to lie down, but I couldn't, so the coughing became unbearable. I, thank God, discovered the bottle of fire cider which I've kept in my fridge for the last 2 years. My niece Corenza made it for me. It was the only thing that gave me any relief. Fantastic stuff, fire cider, and I'll put a little link so you can find out how to make it yourself if you want to. It's a very good all-around immune system boost, and just so soothing for the throat and the chest. So because I had the time, that's what this spirit of this illness was doing, is giving me the gift of time to go within. And when I listened to this spirit, what it was doing, it was whispering all sorts of fear thoughts into me. And actually what it was doing, it was revealing what I had concealed from myself. All the fears. And there are so many of them. The most obvious one right at the beginning is to say that I did have an illness which lasted from 1990 to 2013. That's over 20 years. So the first really obvious big fear was, maybe that's come back. Maybe this is a harbinger and I'm going to find myself stuck for an inordinately long period of time being ill. Disability, fear of illness, fear of prolonged illness, fear of disability, fear of dying, fear of death, fear of ugliness, fear of being an outcast, fear of cognitive decline, fear of becoming dumb and stupid, fear of becoming physically disabled, fear of never getting my energy back, fear of isolation, fear of losing contact with all my friends and family. I mean, this list is endless. It's incredible. When I was lying in bed this morning, paying attention to these fears and realising that what I needed to do is what I'm doing. This is what we call a confession. And it is said that confession is good for the soul. And this is a great and deep truth. It's a very powerful thing to do, to confess. So basically, a fear of never being in a relationship again, fear of being unlovable, fear of ugliness, fear of being cast out of the community, so many, and it just went on. And when I had this awareness of making this film, having all these fears coming up for me to look at, boom, 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 then after a little while, and I'd reached a point where the coughing had stopped for some days, and I'd only just reached a point I was able to go to bed lying down with only one thin pillow, which I really like. I've only been able to do that 2 nights. Absolute bliss, wonderful feeling. then it was like, whoa, okay. And then I started to cough again. And this was like a little reminder of that persistent tickly cough that had driven me almost nuts. Fear of losing my mind, that was another one. Fear of insanity. Yeah. So many fears. Basically, anything I could possibly conceive of became a fear. And the spirit of the illness kept on feeding me these and causing me to be attached to them. But this cough that happened after this cascade of total awareness of all these fears was very significant, because it was saying, just so you understand, you got to get out, you got to go outside, you got to make a film, and you got to share this, you got to confess it, and this actually is the completion of your healing process. And I could tell that things were really improving, because just 2 evenings ago I made bread for the first time. That was the first time the energy started to come back. And then yesterday I went shopping and I made a big batch of kimchi, and I went to dance church for the first time in what feels like forever, and was so transported into states of ecstatic bliss, dancing with a group of people. And what happens in dance church every now and again, in the dance, we all seem to come together and we all ride this beautiful wave of togetherness, which is just so delightful and so blissful. And that indeed did happen. So I'd gone from all these fears into a state of ecstatic bliss. And so what I want to say is, this illness was an opportunity for me to really explore and embrace my shadow. And the thing that I'm generally not aware of is fear. So wow, did it come up? It came up so big time. And as the DJ actually said at the end of the dance church, we need to go into our shadows side and explore these things, because it's all part of the making of the balance, it's part of the alchemy, it's part of becoming free. Such wise words. And the other thing, I'm reading a book, and in the book the guy mentions the German word Angst. And angst apparently is a combination of fear and anxiety, and that really resonated with me as well. And then there's something else which I want to say, which is, of course, ultimately what fear is false evidence appearing real. That's what fears always are. Fears are always an indication that we've become lost in the illusion. And that's what I'd allowed to happen. I can't say I chose it, but I can say I didn't act to stop it. So rather than fighting a good fight with this illness, I did totally the opposite. I surrendered into it so I could receive all of its gifts, and to fully face up to all these fears, and to be able to laugh about them as my energy started to return. And I did need to inhabit that place of, will my energy return? I just don't know. I'm in the realms of mystery here. I can't make any plans about anything. I've recently moved house, only unpacked 1/3. I don't know how long this is going to go on for. I simply don't know anything. And there's something about that surrendering into the mystery and not knowing anything that's part of that healing journey too. So I'm so grateful to you, Stephen. You're the one that did the magnificent job of the USR, Universal Soul Retrieval, which enabled me to have a full healing crisis and to dig deep and to exhume all the worst of the negative thoughts and feelings and impressions which had been buried for so long. And I understand that actually this is the healing of the ME, which was a long-term illness that I had for over 20 years. This is all about the healing of that as well. It's all the same thing. So this is why 2025 is my best year, because I have been in the darkest of places and felt total incapacity, out of which comes, just like the phoenix burns up into ash and then it gets reborn. And this is what we do as human beings. This is what we do all the time. And I'm going to need to make a separate film about aging, because aging and the aging program is such a fascinating subject, and I'm very blessed because this is a journey that I've been on for a very long time, and the first time I fully experienced what it was like to have full old age, I was 38. It's a really good time to experience such a thing for the first time in a person's life. Very grateful for that. So I'm just so happy to be able to do this walk, to have the energy to be outside and to appreciate the delicious mildness of this November morning and see that there are still leaves on the trees, and to know that it's always darkest before the dawn and the new light that comes to shine. And that's very much what 2025 is about for many of us. So my question to you is, what's your 2025 like? How is it going for you? Are you being challenged? Have you been challenged? How has that been? Do you feel like you've been dragged into the pits of hell and come out the other side, or maybe you're still there? Very happy to hear from you about how things are for you. All the love to you.